It's a little bit unbelievable because I was looking through my entire computer and an additional external hard drive, and an external hard drive, and I was trying to find the folder that I have all my stories that I've been collecting over the last 4 to 5 years. I can't find it. I mean, I found some of the stories in other sections, but I swear it was a lot bigger. Now, it could have been like the maybe 10, 12, or 20 that I've collected, but I thought I collected like 50 to if not 100. So I might have been overhyping or over remembering, maybe over fantasizing about what type of stories or how deep of stories or anything that I had. And I want to make certain that I can record two strong, well, there's actually like three, maybe four or five strong stories that I hold dear that I want to actually record. One of them is not, I wouldn't say a western, but it's based off Assassin's Creed and is very much of a Wild Wild West, the movie type of steampunk universe. It's not as campy, it's not as pretty, it's actually a little bit depressing, but it's that world I'd love to create. But another one I'd like to create is let's go ahead and create this objectives. We're gonna do this, make it 30. We'll do objectives. It's the most important part. Let's bring that down to 22. Okay. Boom. So the objectives that I have for this one is I want to tell the story. There's two stories that I'm sort of going between. There's one where the ending I remember wholeheartedly, and I was so dumbfounded by how, to me at least, it was so beautiful the way that a father, a surrogate father, lost his. It's sort of like The Last of Us 1, where the father maybe hasn't had a family or has a family. I don't really remember the origins or the build-up, but the execution at the very end, I do remember how I felt during that. And he loses his alien daughter, who looks human, through a technology he doesn't understand or was aware of, and he was too late in developing anything to actually remedy it. So his daughter is lost. Maybe not dead, but lost, because she is warped in and out of either different states, different realities, ported into this world and ported somewhere else, but he doesn't know where that place is. And it just keeps repeating and repeating and repeating with longer time frames in between each one, or shorter time frames in between each one. Like the first teleport might be 1 week, and then the next one is going to be 3 days and a half, and the next one's going to be 2 days or 1.5 days, and then 1 day. 12 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours, 1.5, 45 minutes. Hopefully that's correct. 45 minutes. Just like it keeps halving or something, and then he gets to the point where the father is maybe sitting in the bedroom with the daughter. And they were probably like reminiscing about all the things that they used to do, or like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like, maybe the father is really taking this hard, and he's in his bedroom and he's sort of like crying, like, I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know. And his daughter comes in, it's like, no, cheer up, Dad, and it's like, it's okay. Or maybe no, reverse it. She's in her room and she's looking through maybe some memories or something where it's like, we used to do this, we used to do that, and she's more of a happy-go-lucky person. She doesn't really feel sad, and that's one thing that you actually get to see is that she doesn't feel sad through any of these activities because she knows where she goes is not dead. It's just she's going to be gone for maybe a while or something. And one thing that happens through that is while they're in her bedroom, she's porting in and out like within every 5-10 seconds, and it gets shorter and shorter and shorter, and within like a few like half a second, milliseconds, and you start to see that she's fading in and out so quickly that when she tries to communicate, she can't do a complete sentence, that when she talks, she's talking regardless of whether or not she's porting in and out, and you start to see the words, and then like you probably pick up every other word of what she's trying to say, and then it starts to fade in where it's more of like talking through a fan. Whoa, I'm trying to do it. I don't have a fan with me, but it's like if you put your mouth behind a if you talk behind a fan, you'll see that you'll have a type of voice when you talk or say anything. And that's sort of what happens. And then she's porting in and out and in and out and in and out and in and out, and she eventually goes away. But before she ports away, she says, like, "I love you, Father," or something heartfelt that. I don't want to just say, like, "I love you, Dad," or maybe calling him, like, Dad or Pop or whatever, like that. A phrase that maybe the father over the last maybe 6 months never wanted to be considered a father, never wanted to be considered a dad, and the alien daughter is not his actual biological, legal daughter. She just showed up and couldn't, and just annoyed the living hell out of him. But he always, through thick and thin, always stood up for her, always tried to do what's best for her. And it's like, I just get out of my sight. It's like, I don't know where to go. Oh my gosh, child. Okay, fine, let's do this. So she becomes an annoyance to him and always called him, like, Pop or old guy, old man. And it's like, don't call me that. It's like, okay, Dad. It's like, don't call me that either. Or maybe just calling him old man. And at the very end of that is that when she starts to fade in and out, in and out, in and out, and then she's gone. She doesn't, like, quote unquote teleport. She fades because she's now, because the frequency always having, she's constantly in that constant state of flux of moving in and out and in and out and in and out. And maybe the scientist father or something, he may have an idea that that's what's happening, but he probably doesn't. Maybe he's not even a scientist. He wanted to he is a begrudging scientist, that he starts to learn the technology, and over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years he starts to figure out ways, and going through the plans and studying really, 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 really hard, and then getting the right resources, talking to the right people, and he gets the technology, he uses it on himself, and then he ports to that other place and tries to figure out what the hell just happened. And then that could be, like, for 2 years. Let's just say 2 years, and he's actually a scientist, but he's trying to figure out that specific technology. And maybe the daughter is actually with him, can actually, because she's pouring in and out between worlds on an instantaneous basis, she is actually in between the worlds simultaneously. Or not, because that would be actually a good question as to if she's teleporting in and out, and she's just like she was teleporting in and out before she faded away. You could have, I know this is like, where are the visuals? Okay, let me just put some visuals up here because it's kind of blank. Whee, circles. Okay, but when she was teleporting in and out, in and out, in and out, I don't think that she would. Maybe she may or may not have been on this planet after she teleported in and out. Maybe it's like a complete mystery, and the object is for us to not know what happened, but to know that at the end of the story. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Right before she fades away, she says, "I love you, old man," and the old man is a reference to him. Hating the idea that he's an old man, hates that she says it, hates that anything about it, and it always bugs him and annoys him, and he always maybe freaks out in a very hilarious manner. And it's like in an obnoxious, hilarious manner. Like he always like slams his hand on the table, and then he hurts his hand, and he starts being belligerent about his hand being hurt or something. So it's like shut up, kid. Maybe the guy like throws alcohol on her. It's like shut up, or whatever he's drinking, like beer wise, just throws the beer on her and then like tips her over. Like, you're being very abusive. You didn't pick. It's like, don't do that to your daughter. She ain't my daughter. Don't do that to a woman. I don't consider her to be a woman. I don't know who she is. I want her to go away. She won't leave me alone. So they have that type of dichotomy, like, go away from me. It's like, no. And at the very end, she says to him in a very sincere, you could see that there's a little bit, not disappointment, but sadness on her, like, it's over. But she still has a smile, and she's grateful to be with the person she considers to be her father figure even, and has that one, closes her eyes and like thank you, Dad, type of moment. And when she ports away, she fades away saying, "I love you, old man." And for the one time, he doesn't freak out. He's sad. He's crying. He's tearing up, and he reaches out for her, but she fades away, and she becomes intangible. And it's like one of those situations of like, crap. So for the next 2 years, he starts to develop the technology, and maybe we see with this last, and we could probably call this like an anime, where the entire season, like just one season, maybe this is a story that connects with the other ones, but for at least this story arc it has from start to finish. And maybe it could be the series finale after like maybe 4 or 5, 7 seasons of other characters within this world. It's just that these two specifically have been trucking along, excuse me, for the last 5 or 7 years. And then this type of situation happened. You knew that like he never wanted her, and she always wanted her. But then at the end, when she was gone, he finally realized that, hey, it's like, I miss you. Crap. So he does all the necessary work and leg work for the next 2 years, and you could have a little a montage for the last 5-10 minutes. I usually have a bunch of pictures here, but one of the things that I wanted to do was I wanted to at least address that, because that one storyline, and this isn't even the story for that. I might even record this and put it for something else, because one thing I love about that one story is that ending, where it's a surrogate father. If I'm using that word correctly, where he didn't want to be a father. She wanted, was just happy-go-lucky, loving, and she considered him to be her father. Yeah, I'm using the right gender. Considered him to be her father, or at least a father figure, or always gave him a hard time. And it's just through thick and thin, he was a good man. Maybe he wasn't a good man, and she showed up, and it's like it just changed his life. So that, you could probably have the entire story be based around like a guy is actually bettered because he has a daughter, and because of that, he has to step up. He has to become a better person. He has to be a man for her. And it's like not even just a man. He has to be a father. He has to be that nurturing, maybe strict at times. And then it's like, this is what we got to do. And she gets herself in a mess. He takes the blunt of all the crap that happens to her. And then she sees that, and she's like, wow, I didn't know, like, you, like, okay, thank you for doing that. It's like, just stop it and go to your room. I don't have a room. Make a room. Make a fort. Be in there. It's like, just go somewhere and feel punishment. It's like, he's trying, but he's horrible at it, and she's like, okay, that's not gonna work with me, or like she's magical or something. She's maybe more powerful. I don't know. Maybe it's the other way around, where she's literally just a legitimate alien, but again still looks like a human, and that's one of the reasons as to I don't know. But that's one story that I think would be really, 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 really cool. So I'm going to cut everything else. I'm going to delete and then paste. Get that back there. Okay, so let's go with this story right here. I know that was about 10, 13 minutes of just a random story, but the ending of that I absolutely love. I remember writing it down, typing it for hours. I spent probably 12 hours, maybe a total, not probably just one sitting, probably did like 2 hours every other day or something, but I remember writing out that story from start to finish, and I was just so obsessed with their relationship, because it was the classic trope of, hey, I love you, and the other guy's like, hey, get away from me, and then eventually she goes away, and he's like, oh crap, what did I do? Like, and just like the regret of, maybe I should have acted better while she was here. I was like, oh my gosh, that felt so real. Oh my gosh, I was just like, I was crying on the inside. But, it was like, oh my gosh, this is too good of a story. I can't stop it. I kept on going and going and going and going. And eventually got to that part, I was like, oh no. But he has a redemption arc. And I would say not really a necessary redemption arc, but he has a moment where he can actually overcome like the tragedy, because he and the last little scene, and I'll move on to this other story that I was thinking about, is while he's working in his garage or something, he has his machines and he's actually working, tinkering and using all the Tesla type of tech or something, and it zooms out of his own home, and it's a natural, maybe Japanese modern Japanese home. So it's just one of those square buildings that's right next to another square building, and so on and so forth. And it just zooms out. You get to see some electricity, kind of like light, some light in the background, some light from the garage. But we just see the building, and it keeps zooming out, and then he sees some like a gigantic burst of light. And then you say, and then he says like, finally, and you hear him like, finally, and you hear the gizmo go, and then he makes a green portal or something. A green light happens, and that's the same green light that had the daughter keep porting in and out and in and out and in and out. It was amazing. So. Something like that, where you get to see that he's trying to go and find her or find the way as to why where is she? That's the one search that he could be doing, doing or something. Maybe it's a time sequence where she actually ported to a different time. Maybe she was already time traveling and she goes back to her original place. And then when I'm just spitballing here, and then when he is trying to find her, he can only find her by traversing through time, which she herself didn't even know. Is because, but that would be a little bit ridiculous if the only way to traverse through time would be just, casual. Wouldn't she know that that she was in the past? Now, see, that's a little bit of an issue. You can maybe not traversing through time, but maybe traversing into a different planet, or maybe a different, an alternate universe or something. Maybe there are two, like Full Metal Alchemist. There are two universes that are side by side in correlation. Cause and effect relationship. That was the way that they did it in the regular, not Brotherhood. I love the regular. The Brotherhood is just a little off for me. I saw the original Full Metal Alchemist. That's the one that I remember. That's the one that stuck with my heart. If I see something for the first time, that's the thing that I love. That's the thing that I remember. Anything that adds to that is going to be a different thing, but I'm going to base it off of the original thing that I saw. And like Batman, I have seen the original animated Batman, the original animated Superman. I've seen every single episode, every single season. I love those shows. And that's the model with whom Batman and Superman are. So any other Batman, any other Superman, it just seems weird that they have that type of look, type of style. But I can respect it. I can like it for what it is, but it may not live up to the hype or the joy, the love that those original shows have brought. Well, that's something. So let's get into this story. And this story actually has a lot more detail. It's like, how can it have a lot more detail? You've been going on for the last 17, 18 minutes. This one I really thought about through because I don't know why I thought about it. Wait, is this the Assassin's Creed world? No, but I think it was like, there was one part that was influenced by the Assassin's Creed world. It was a small part, but I think the main character is based off Natsu from Fairy Tail anime, and the main character from Black Clover. He's a very annoying small child who can lift gigantic things and has no magic. It's just, the personality is the same way with this main character. So let's create the world and then I'll go through the story. So one thing that I was thinking about is you actually have, I wonder if we can show it. Okay, probably not, so we'll just try to be a little bit creative. We'll do fill, probably something like this. Yeah, we'll do, we don't have to, we can just do this. Boom. Let's do this. Okay, we'll do circle, fill, no fill. Just want to make certain I'm resetting all this status, all that status. Okay, maybe something like this. Nah, let's do something like this. Just trying to like make it a little bit. Yeah, I'll go with that. And one last one is we'll do this. So it's probably not as perfect as this. It was a little bit new, but a little bit different. But the essential nature is that there's a metropolis that everyone here lives in, and maybe it's not as clean cut as this. Maybe there are some roads that go like this. It's just it sort of represents this type of moon-shaped crest, the city. And in the middle, you have all those cities. So let's do this. Nah, let's do... This will be red. Yeah, let's do red, just for the sake of it. Okay, so we have a bunch of cities right here. Maybe like... maybe the metropolis or something, major cities right here, but you have maybe some right here. This is not exactly what I was looking for, but the whole point is let's do some smaller cities. You just have and the whole point is you just have maybe some outskirts, some homes on the outskirts, not that much, and it's as cram-packed, jam-packed as... Trying to give an example, I'd say not Istanbul. What's the name? Jason Bourne, third movie or second movie? I think it is the third movie. Whichever movie they have the assassin that's actually competent, that blows up the car and is driving the moped and is going after the girl. I think it's in the third movie. That city, I don't know if they're in Italy, but everything's crammed together, jam-packed, and then there's a metropolis right here. There's a big city. It's more like a utopia, mainly in the center, but everywhere else it looks a little bit more poor, and that's the place. And then you have the main character. Main character, I was gonna consider to be... Originally, he's a human. I was gonna create just a regular story with humans, and then I had an idea of, like, what if I do it with dogs and animals? That the only thing with that is that the biggest issue with that is if you wanted to have some quote-unquote cross-pollination, if you were to have a crossbreed, which there's a lot of people in this country, in the United States, that are not single ethnicity parent. They don't have dual ethnicity parents. They're mixed race. Or not mixed race, but they're mixed skin color, mixed ethnicity, mixed background. And one of the things when you have a story that has, here is the pig family, like Zootopia. Zootopia, sheep cannot cross-pollinate with a wolf. Again, there's a lot of websites out there that probably would tell you otherwise and are explicit in nature, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody. But again, by having that, it's like, oh yeah, the wolf family. But if you were creating an actual thing that people could relate to, that couldn't be something that someone could relate to, because the only way to get past that is having cross-pollination, cross-birth, genetics and stuff, and that's when you could get with, okay, so on and so forth. It's just, hopefully that I'm making my point. And so we'd have to create a story with either humans or maybe elves. Again, same issue with the elves and dwarves and things. It's like there's not really elf and dwarf. It's like there's actually, wait, let me say that again. You could possibly have mixed races, mixed species, mixed races in an elven world, dwarven world, where, in a party, there's one person who's half elf, half dwarf. Well, how could that be? How could they ever love each other? And then there's a bunch of people going after them just because, you're not full race or whatever. So or full species. I don't know what the difference is between race and species, but I don't know. Nah. Boo on your mother. Only if she's an orc. You silly orc crossbreed. Well, what about that guy? He's half elf, half human. Yeah, but he's not related to an orc. It's like, have you ever heard of a good orc? No. Check and point. Check and mate, sir. That's funny. Okay, let's change the colors. Let's get this settings. Okay. So the main character, let's just say that he lives right here, and let's do it like right here. And there's a bunch of other cities. There's another row right here. So there's a big walkway, and maybe there's a bazaar and something. It's just like it's a very busy street. There's probably hundreds of people that you could see while on the street. It's like like the original Aladdin. It's just there's a bunch of people. It's one of those neighborhoods. It's like the not the wet market, the market in Korea, South Korea. I'm trying to think if that's the place where they have pretty much every food marts and everything. They're all open. Everybody's picking and choosing. It's a busy town. It's definitely a big city. And while there's a lot of foot traffic and stuff, all this activity is going to be happening in this one home, this one place right here. And in that location, this one guy has maybe going down the road. Here's a market. Here's a building. Maybe there's like a little break right there, and then another one right here, and then here's another building. Here's another building. But you have a walkway, and you have a walkway. And it keeps lots of foot traffic and lots of businesses are open. And the guy the main character, whoever you want to consider him to be, maybe a dark-skinned guy. I think a dark-skinned. You know what? Let's roll with it. Because the main character I didn't really consider about skin color, but you might as well go with it. I think it would work if this guy was black. Maybe like USA black, because there are different grades of black and white. I'm not white. You can tell I'm white, but I'm not white. I'm like a beige, and I'm actually like my arms are incredibly brown. So because I get a lot of sun. And my shoulders specifically, my arms to my shoulders get specifically a lot of sun every day. And so we'll say that this dark-skinned guy, I don't know how dark, I don't know what ethnicity, whatever, that does not matter. The main point is that the character, again, you can change whatever the physical traits, that doesn't matter to me. The one thing that would matter, the reason I'm going about that is because I still keep thinking about like Zootopia, trying to create this, again, stay within your ethnicity is the exact same thing as staying within your species. It really is. That's how I see it. Now, again, I understand pigs are with pigs. That's just how it goes. So when you start quote-unquote cross-pollinating, it's a different species. That's why. So, yeah. I really just get a... that is... Now I'm sort of like I'm laser targeted on it right now, so I'm trying to like move on. So let's keep going with this story. Regardless of whoever this person is, the main character, he's kind of a klutz, he's kind of a doofus, he's kind of a mess, he's kind of all over the place, but he has two daughters and a son, or maybe 3 daughters, 4 daughters, or maybe 3 daughters and 1 son, 3 sons and 1 daughter, 1 daughter, 1 son. He has children. And let's just say a daughter and a son for the sake of... No. 2 daughters and 2 sons. Let's give this guy a big family. 2 daughters and 2 sons. And they're going down the market one day, and then maybe one of the children is making fun of him or like poking fun of him, and maybe the son is. And he's like... and he always finds refuge behind the mother, and the mother always like gives him an excuse of like, and maybe the mother and the father bicker as to like, well, you can't, don't do that, don't stick up for him like that. If he does something wrong, he has to stand up like a man or something. And the wife, the mother, has fallen in love with this guy, not because of how well composed he is, but quite the contrary. Is that despite him being so over the top, despite this guy being so like a klutz or something, or being a bit as a guy being a bit ditzy, being a guy who is like, I just don't really know, is that he always when it needs to get done, he always gets it done. So it's like it's a man that you can rely on, a guy that's like, this is what we're going to do. So he might be a bit ditzy, not really knowing what's going to happen, but he knows like, okay, this is what we're going to do. It's like, we're going to go to the marketplace, and then he gets everybody ready when they're about to leave the home, and he forgets the keys. every single time or something like that. And it's one of those like, oh, I'll go get my keys again. But he's always reliable. He's always a person where it's like, if he forgets his keys, he's gonna go get his keys. So if there's a task that needs to get done, he gets it done. If there's a lawn that needs mowing, if the lawnmower gets off, he'll go get scissors and do it manually, and he'll just be out there until it's done. But that's the type of character he is, because what I would love to see is a type of character who, he may not be the smartest, he may not be the person who can actually bring the most to the group, but the thing is that he rallies people around him because of his ability to get people to go and do something. He's the person that will stand up, and specifically I have a scene for this, which I think is amazing. Hopefully I can remember it, which I sort of vaguely remember. So in the back of my, I think he will become a paladin at some point, or I'm thinking of a different story. I'm probably thinking of a different story. But there's an entire discussion happening in an official quote unquote courtroom, but this will be like more of a grand scale where there's maybe like hundreds of people in this one location, and there's a little bit of an audience, or he's right here by the door, and then there's a maybe like a whole, not a whole row, but maybe like an entire place where generals, leaders across different cultures and worlds are different countries are coming together and having discussion, and they're saying like how stupid and evil or dumb and stupid the people are in this town, but it's not so on the nose. Maybe they're talking about something political that's just like, wow, really? No, that's not going to happen. Or I don't remember what gets under his skin, but in this meeting, he goes in, quote unquote, guns a-blazing, figuratively, and he goes in there and starts speaking his mind, and everybody's like, dude, stop, you need to stop now. And there's people coming after him, and what happens is that with a commanding voice for like 30 seconds while these people have been ordered to come over here, he gives this like not on the nose, or maybe, no, so direct. It's an incredibly direct speech. I'm trying to think of what that is. An incredibly direct speech where he stands up, he says to everybody, guys, stop. This is why it's wrong. This is what we're going to be doing. And if you haven't, no, it's not that. I don't remember what it was. Oh. Okay, let's make this a little, because that seems a little bit too over the top. That seems, again, from what I remember, that seemed too over the top. He comes in, he starts, he may be talking to maybe one of the people who is a, let's just say, quote unquote, lieutenant or something, is now one of his friends and one of his party members or something, and and the lieutenant is in a meeting with a few generals, not a whole group, if I remember correctly. And while they're discussing and having a topic being discussed, whatever it is, maybe like military deployments of here and there, he gets in there and he just says what everybody doesn't want to say. He says the quiet part out loud, and he's very curious about it. Like, why are you going to go and sacrifice these men? And everybody's like, or something like that. I don't remember what it is, but he goes in there. It doesn't have to be that type of example, but he goes in there, and that's the type of person he is that within a party of maybe like there's an assassin, somebody who's very stealthy, who can go into any place and actually grab something and be untraceable when somebody's after him. There could be another person who's an expert marksman, and this could be and this is definitely a fantasy world. I just don't know how advanced either technology or the magic system is, because again, you could probably have the people at the very top of the tower or something be, and maybe have a class system where maybe everybody can use magic, and that's not the first time that it ever happened. Black Clover, that show, that anime, that there's a system where everybody can use magic, but there's only a few people who can use their magic well. And those people are considered high authority, moral, good people. And if you don't have that power of magic, then you are considered a peasant. You're low tier. You are replaceable. And everybody believes that about themselves if they're not at that level. And that's one of the things that I think the main character is trying to push through and break, because him and and somebody who he grew up in an orphanage and this is in the first episode. The main character and his rival that has grown up in the same orphanage, a very poor part where you only eat either potatoes 5 times a day. They are one of the most powerful magic wielders, even though the main character actually doesn't wield magic. It's a very cool way that they did it. I won't go any details into that one. But the main character, he goes, anytime he steps up, while everybody in this one room, Asta, I think his name is Asta in Black Clover, he's in a room where there's a bunch of people who are top tier, great at magic. They were born with great magic, and they were born into high society. They were born into that status. And if you were, depending on who you were born with, if one person had good magic and another person had good magic, boom, you instantaneously have good, if not greater, magic. And that's the type of system that evolves. So there's this class system that Asta is fighting against. And I think that's really cool. It's not about race, it's not about ethnicity or your sex. It's specifically a class structure where you being at the top is from how you were born, and people at the bottom, there's no mobility. And again, I'm not even going to bring up anything political. It's just that that consideration of if you're at the bottom, you're at the bottom. Stop trying. That's the type of attitude that the people at the top believe, because there's no place for you up here. So that's pretty interesting of a story in my what I'd like to think so. And Asta steps up, and there's just this one guy that keeps running his mouth, and he's literally the most powerful, if not second or third most powerful sorcerer or magician in the entire land, or at least in their country. And this guy, the main character, isn't. He literally is not. He's very weak. But he's the most powerful. It's hard to explain. And he steps up, and he's like, "Guy, shut up." And it's like he punches the guy in the face, and they're about to fight, like kill each other, or like the other guy's like about to kill him, but they're interrupted because there's something else that spawns that's actually of greater importance outside. And again, that's the type of character that this guy is at the very beginning. He may be kind of a klutz. He's kind of a silly goof. He's maybe not a person who brings much to the table, but he's your best friend. He will always stick up to you. He's a guy who will never quit. He's a guy who cares, but he cares so much. He cares too much, where it's a detriment at times. But again, with friends and family, it will be a detriment to himself. But for others, it's a boon. It's a blessing. It's amazing. And that's the type of character he is. So he has his children. His children are making fun of him, but making fun of him in a light way. Like, ha ha ha, daddy. It's like, come and chase me or something. Like that type of thing. And it's like, oh, you can't catch me. And they start running around the mother, and the guy's like trying to chase the kid around the mother, and the mother stops him. And it's like, what are you doing? Or it's like, maybe trips the father so the kid can go and tackle him on the ground on his back. So then he gives him a piggyback ride. So he may be somebody that you can kind of poke fun at, but you love him. You just absolutely love him. He's endearing. He's loving. He's a beautiful man, and inside and out. What happens in this thing is that they go to the entire family is going from maybe one place to one market to another, one business to another business, picking up some things. Just a traditional day to go to the market. And they go behind the alleyway, and the alleyway has maybe one or two thugs that are actually there to rob them. The guy, the main character, so when they go this way and they're going to get mugged, the father pushes his wife and children, not like shoves them, but just like, hey, get behind me. And then he takes the entire blunt of the entire thing, and he says, run. Like, just get out of here, go get help. And it's like, or go find Mr. Balthazar, and Balthazar could be somebody that he actually met in the marketplace and had a conversation with just moments ago, and goes and tells the children to go run for that, including the wife. Well, they go do that to make certain that the two muggers are not going to go after them, so they go after him. And they actually beat him up, and they stab him a few times. But Balthazar brings over the police, and the muggers are arrested, but you get to see that he's just a person that he cares. He's a good guy. He will take the stabbings to make certain that he loves it, that his family doesn't. So again, it's just that initial setup of maybe the first 15 minutes. You get to see the entire marketplace. It's kind of a good feeling, a good vibe, and then you get to see that. He's at, and then we go back to his home back here later, maybe later after the entire incident happened. His children are worried about what happened to him, and his mother, the wife, his wife, is concerned about his safety, his health, because he was stabbed a few times in very critical places. Places that, will heal, definitely heal, but it's just like she's worried about him. And during that entire thing, he's having there's a doctor that's tending to his wounds and makes certain that informs the wife about his status, where he's going to be going, what type of medicine and herbs he has to have, and excuse me. So this is all happening in his home, and he has like a 2-story home in a place like Italy or something, and like those type of homes. He has a conversation with his father, if I remember correctly, and his father was there as a grandfather and then grandmother. They're playing with the children in the other room, and maybe they're having maybe the grandfather's telling the stories of amazing things and great tales that have happened in the past, or maybe some fictitious things of like, oh, I'm trying to scare you, boo, and it scares the children, they start running off, and then they want to go back and be told more stories, and that's something that's happening in the other room. So creating a very rich environment for this guy. And then he has a conversation with his wife, and he says that it's like, I want to get out of this city. I want to get out of this place. This place is no good. This has happened too many times to a few people that we even know. It's like this place has gone downhill, even though it's a miraculous place because of how close everything is, how rich everything is around. It's like he wants to protect his family, so he has been bringing up over and over and over multiple days, multiple nights of like, we got to leave, we got to get out of this place. But the wife doesn't want to leave because she maybe has family nearby, or maybe the people in the other room are her parents. Where it's like there's a great place over here that it's like they're both caring and considering about like what would be the livelihood of these children, and it's actually the best place that you could actually go. And maybe she's actually concerned, and maybe he actually convinces her to. It's like, okay, fine, we'll move. And it's one of those things that she while sitting on the bed while he has his arms wrapped with wherever his wounds are. And that's the one thing that she always loved about him, is that it's like, you always convince me, dear. It's like you always have the right goal in mind, but more importantly, you always have the heart in the right place. So it's like, I trust you. Let's go. Let's find a way out of here. But if you will, please, let's do it right. Let's find a good place first before we just leave. And then she gets him to be convinced of like, okay, yeah, that's a smart idea. So they're a good team together. And one thing that I want to happen, and it's not something that I want to happen, it's something that I think would be a good storyline. On the outside, you get to see a few people running away, or a few people looking towards the capital city over here. And maybe it's like a very visible place because, again, this one circle, this one area right in the center, with this marketplace, you get to see that there's a bunch of people making a commotion, looking and pointing, and maybe a few of them are running away while a few of them are still looking. And when the father gets up or the mother gets up, the mother gets up, looks outside, and you maybe only have the vision of what the father is seeing. And the mother looks outside. Oh, no. Okay, I remember. It was actually reversed. The mother, the wife is inside, but the guy gets up, even though, again, he's injured, but his instinct is to go and act. So he gets out of bed, even though the wife says, like, you need to stay in bed, dear. He goes to the window, looks outside, sees everybody running away, and he looks to his left, and he looks this way, and he sees that there's actually an explosion, a large explosion, if not like this large circular light that keeps growing, but very slowly, and then an entire shockwave just like pushes everything just slightly, just a gigantic wind Shockwave. And then what happens is that you start to see explosion and explosion. Let me change color. Just like a little explosion here, explosion here, explosion here. And it just starts permeating through the entire city. Explosion here, and then in the home it explodes. And what happens is, because he's by the window, he's seeing all the explosions trailing, and then he looks to his wife and he looks to his children, he looks at his wife, and he says, honey. The entire building explodes. The inside where the children were and the grandparents were explodes, caves in. Inside where the bedroom was explodes, caves in. He's flung from the bedroom. He's flung from the second floor. He's flung into the marketplace. He hits a few things on the way down, but soft things, but he's hitting maybe like a barrel of grain or something, but then he lands on a pile of broken wood or something. It's just like, it's not good for him. I don't know if he's going to get knocked out. I don't know if he gets up. Okay, no, he gets up. He gets up from that place, so he's now down on the street. And boom, explosion right there. And while on the street, he's seeing all the people run. He sees that his entire home, with everybody running this way, either this way, maybe a few people running this way, that he sees that his home is dusty. Dust is blown everywhere. There's nothing that really resembles. It's just, he can see that his home is destroyed. I don't know if it's like from crumbled all the way down, or it's just that there's smoke and fire or something coming from it. And there's other explosions that keep on going. And one of the incidences happens is, maybe he's taken to maybe he passes out, maybe he's trying to crawl to it, and then he gets kicked in the face by somebody who's running by accident, and then he passes out. He wakes up in a location, and he wakes up in a building. I don't know what type of building it is. Maybe this is a bird's eye view of the entire place, bird's eye view of the first floor, and I don't know how this would. You see, now I'm sort of debating as to if this is overlapping into another story that I was creating, or this is the same story. Because again, the way that this is the way that I was thinking about it the first time that I created it. And I think he wakes up in, if this is the same story, he actually wakes up in like a centrifuge. That's a centrifuge is a machine. I'm trying to think of like a refuge or something. Wherever you bring people who are like a first aid kit camp or something. I don't remember what it's called. I don't know. Oh, my brain. My mind. But there's a bunch of people in here who are injured. They're bloodied. They're bruised. And the guy wakes up maybe in the corner in this one location, maybe like right here. Yeah, right here. Let's make this one black again. And yeah, maybe he wakes up in this one, if not that one. And let's go with this one. This one, and he's trying to see what's going on. He has like maybe splinters in his body, and he's like, he can't really move. His muscles are frozen, his stiff, because everything was shocked. 'Cause I've had a situation before personally. This is more of just a personal story. I was riding a bike. I was at my dad's apartment while I was living with my dad while I went to school in college, and then I eventually moved into an apartment with my brother in the same city. While I was at my father's apartment, the apartment complex had slopes on the parking with the parking at a near 30-degree angle, and that's very steep. And I was on my bike. And, well, what happened with my bike is that I was trying to turn, or I couldn't brake, or something happened. I guess I froze. And what happened is I tried to do something. I think I broke. I held the brake of the front tire, and that made me flip over. And I caught myself successfully. It didn't hit my face. But when I landed over, going down the 30-degree cement parking lot, I caught myself on my hand. If not, my left hand took the majority of the force. If it was either the left or right, I think it was the left one. And what happened was I deadlocked the arm, and it shocked the entire, like all the nerves got shocked. It felt like I broke everything. It felt like I broke every single bone, like all both of the bones. It's just like I felt like a small crack through the entire thing. It freaking hurt. And when I went to the hospital, it's like they got an X-ray or something. It's like nothing's broken. It's just like your nerve has been shot. I don't know if that's how they explained it, but the thing is that they gave me a noose, or not a noose, a harness, whatever the thing is that you wrap around your shoulder so it stays in position. And it's like that's what they had. But one of the things that I had to do, because my bones weren't broken, the nerves were shot. So what I had to do was actually I had to move my arm, but the issue is that every time that I moved it, it felt like it was breaking, not broke. It felt like it was broken, so I couldn't move it, and it was hell, if I remember correctly. So when I was trying to move it, it was just stiff. It was like trying to bend wood, and it's like my arm won't bend. It's like we gotta bend it. Oh, it hurts so much. So again, like his body, his muscles could be shot or like stiff or something, and he's trying to get himself to move. So when he's trying to get up and he's trying to go outside or something, it's just like maybe he's trying to ask around about like what happened, what the hell happened, and maybe he like remembers for just a brief moment about his entire home blowing up, and he's like, what the hell? So I know there's a lot happening in the story already, but this is where, again, things are going to start picking up. How in the hell did it, like, is there a point where this guy can breathe? No, never. We gotta get this guy to suffer. Why? I don't know. But, story. So, and this is the last little bit before we move on to something that's more peaceful. Like, this is the first episode, if you want to consider in an entire season or series where we get the main character, but you got to get the plot, the reasons for him to fight, and the characters with whom he's going to be fighting with and against. So he goes over and he's trying to find somebody, and nobody will help him. He maybe starts curling up in the corner because it's like there's a lot that's just happened in my life. I don't know what's going on. And he's just a natural reaction of wanting to like curl up and try to like figure it out, or like a safety mechanism or something. And maybe he goes up in the corner over here or something. And when he goes over here, through the door, there's a bunch of people that come in, maybe like a lieutenant or a captain, and you could tell that he is a captain. You can tell he is of high importance. The way he dresses, but most importantly, the way he holds himself. He comes in, he may look down at you, but he will definitely take care of business. So that's the type of attitude that he has. It's like, I don't care who you are, but you need to get out of my sight. I have things I'm trying to do. I have people to take care of. That's the type of personality. He comes in, and it's just like, when it's business time, this is what we got to do. So he has the order. It's like he maybe has an order that's been given to him, and he's going around here to make certain that everybody of any and all statuses that's happening to specifically his men that have been taken here. He's maybe trying to bring in anybody. Maybe he's not a captain. I was thinking that in the original story, but what might be better is that he's not a captain. He's actually a low-level officer. And maybe the lowest level ranking officer, which is a second lieutenant. Actually, there is a lower ranking officer, but it's a very subset. It's in between the NCO, the non-commissioned officer, and an officer in the military, or at least in the army, where there's 5 ranks, and I think it's specifically within airframe, where you're a pilot, and there's 5 rankings, I think, with being a pilot. That you can do that, where you can get that officer ranking. It's like it's above a non-commissioned officer, but it's below an officer. So you're kind of in that, I don't know if it's a sweet spot, but right in the middle in ranking. And it's very specialized. I don't remember what it was, but it is a thing. So you could have this guy who's probably the lowest of the rank, and he's trying to come in here and he's trying to figure out like all the men who are in the army, in their military force, and he's trying to take account of them first. Everybody else is secondary, and he sees this guy in the corner. This guy that's just like shriveled up, crying, and maybe weeping or something in the corner. Our main character. While he gets everybody's attention and stuff, this gigantic beast, like shoves the door open, but it doesn't shove the door open. It shoves the door frames to the side a little bit, so you can tell like of how much force is happening, and then it shoves up the wall, the ceiling a little bit, the top of the frame of the door. It pushes it up, and it breaks it through, and it's coming through the door. And it's starting to like go out swinging or something. Maybe it doesn't kill anybody, but you could definitely tell there's like a soldier here, who have to watch out. Maybe a few soldiers outside. But this beast, this demon-looking thing, came in and started swinging. And the demon, maybe later in the story, could have been summoned because there was an argument or a discussion or political something or whatever. Maybe there was a disagreement happening within this area at the very top building right here. And then that, like, whatever they were happening, one idea that I have, I know there's a lot of information coming out, but one thing that I was thinking about through this entire thing is that each and every single one of these explosions, from the Assassin's Creed world, an assassin, those like quote-unquote ninjas, but assassins specifically, rogues, would be through a different perspective, a different storyline, looking at the exact same event. You would see maybe one of the party members that teams up with the main character later on, maybe in a couple of episodes, if not the next episode. And excuse me, one of those assassins was in a team of assassins, probably like 10 or 20, that was going through all the rooftops to and inspecting stuff. Maybe setting up all these bombs. Maybe these were arcane circles, and they had to be drawn in a certain specific pattern and specific time with specific reagents, and they would only set off after a certain amount of time or something, or maybe a certain incantation, but they were waiting for the response from the people at the very top to make it happen. So again, this was a very coordinated thing that had nothing to do with our main character, but the main character is going to drive home he's going to change life. He's going to change everything because of one simple attitude of getting it done. But in this scenario, it's okay to have him be a whimpering crybaby. The reason is he lost his family right in front of him. His body is suffering. He's in pain. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. I think it's perfectly reasonable for a regular Joe to just break down. Just a situation like that. And when the monster comes in, starts swinging, starts pushing soldiers to the side. He probably doesn't kill anybody. I think it would be appropriate for him to maybe kill somebody, if just seeing like maybe how dangerous this guy is. But I don't think there's a need for him to have this beast to kill somebody, but maybe to like slash the fingers off of a soldier or something. It's like, but you don't have to have them killed. Maybe you could just like punch the guy, and the guy like falls over and like is crippled. But you don't have to kill the guy. So the beast comes in, starts rushing towards this lieutenant guy, or maybe the lieutenant guy's over here, and the beast starts rushing this way. Well, the beast rushes this way. This guy sees what the hell's going on, grabs this guy's, this could be another soldier, grabs this guy's sword, rushes over, grabs it, comes over here, and slashes the head clean, maybe not even clean off, but stabs the beast in the neck. It may not kill him, but it gives the time for every other soldier in here, including maybe a nurse or two, to go over and just like start stabbing the beast and like making certain they're dead, or maybe the nurses go over and start protecting the injured, while all the soldiers just start beating the living crap out of the beast and then eventually killing it. But when the main character goes over, grabs this guy's sword, comes over and protects the lieutenant who came in, the second lieutenant who came in and started checking on status and giving a status report. This beast came in, and he's the main character stabbed his neck. He passed out. So after he went over, stabbed him, and he just immediately passed out. And the reason for that is just that he's exhausted, he's tired, there's like, I'm done. It's like it doesn't matter how much willpower you have. That was his last bit of thing. It's just like within the last like when it comes down to, he's the one that's able to get it done. Now again, why did he do that? I would be perfectly okay with changing a few details of the scenario, because why would this guy go and grab a sword from an officer when a beast comes in? But maybe the guy didn't even have any training. Maybe he was an officer at some point, but he decided to retire because he had a family, and he had a family and just chose to go with the family. Maybe he had a few years of training, and so he's a retired guy who maybe has his own shop somewhere else, or maybe he's a farmer. Maybe he was a former farmer, he sold off the farm, and he's just kind of like living in the lap of luxury off of their investments or something. So, I mean, you could probably create it like that, where he does have that type of experience and history, but the most important part is that the thing that I want to happen is that the main character finds a way to save the second lieutenant, and let's get rid of all this. Yeah, so the main character finds a way to save the second lieutenant, and whatever that method is, he passes out from that event and saves the second lieutenant, and he does save everybody in the entire infirmary. That's the word I was looking for, the infirmary. So the next scene, the next day, or maybe the next 2 or 3 days, he wakes up, he's still bloodied and bruised and stuff. He's tired, exhausted. He wakes up, and the second lieutenant is actually there by his bedside, or has somebody who the second lieutenant has working for him, and he's going to be messaged whenever he wakes up. So he maybe comes out of the other room, or maybe he is a medic. Maybe the guy's a medic. This guy is a medic, and he's a second lieutenant medic, and that's all he does. So he doesn't really use weapons or anything, but he has a weapon. He's just not really trained in it. While maybe the main character has been trained in it, and it just comes from a different branch, like being in infantry if in the army. So the next day he wakes up, and they have this entire spiel, and the main character, no, the second lieutenant, this guy, the medic, is going to be the medic officer comes to the guy while he's in bed, and like gives him all his thanks, and it's like, man, you had a really rough night, didn't you? The main character, the medic, doesn't understand the type of trauma he actually went through with his family, but he tries to bring up a conversation or something like, how are you feeling? He's trying to start checking his vitals or something, and the main character is like, what the hell happened? Where's my family? Where's my wife? Where's my children? Where's my son? Where's my daughter? Where's Billy? Where's Ted? Where's Susan? Where's Andrea? It's like those, just they whatever the names are. It's like he's asking. It's like, there was a lot of casualties. I do not know about your situation, sir. I'm sorry. And he gets up. He tries to get up, but the medic tries to put him back down. And when the medic turns around to go and grab something on the tray, the guy gets up and is already outside the room, and he's walking down trying to figure out what the hell's happening, and he's trying to go find his family. And whatever the process is, whatever happens from that scenario, I want it to happen where the second lieutenant is actually having a conversation with some of his officials, his higher ups, and this guy right here, he's actually saying like, that guy saved me, so this is why I'm here, sir. And he's like, you're ordered to get back there before you get in trouble. Okay. So the second lieutenant medic guy is going to go into the main office, which is probably like way up here somewhere in this area, because it hasn't really been bombed much, so it's still a functioning facility. And the main character, he just rushes in there with him. It's just like he follows right behind him. He's not really stealthy, but he just gets by, maybe by luck or something. Maybe if like there was a door open, he's just like, hey, thank you very much, and it opens up, and he just goes right on through. He's not really thinking about trying to be stealthy, but he's just moving along. And right before they get to the place where it's like, okay, only officials go through here, he finds a way to maybe punch him in the face. I don't know how belligerent he is, because if you do that, you're probably going to get sent to jail. And maybe no, I remember the story. No, he doesn't check his vitals. None of this entire scene happens, if I remember correctly. None of this happens. No. I'm sorry. I am sorry. None of everything that I just said when he wakes up in the hospital, not the infirmary, the hospital. So after the 2 or 3 days. That doesn't happen. If I remember correctly, he wakes up, and actually it was a captain, so I am changing a bit of the story. I want him to be a second lieutenant medic, but that does change the dynamics of when he wakes up, because if he was the captain, he wakes up and says, like, "Sir, do you want a job?" It's like he has a long conversation with him, and he's very cunning. He's charming. The captain is, and tries to say, like, "Well, what you did, sir, you saved my life." And it's like what, and maybe like brings him in along something. Oh man, but this entire process is going to happen where the main character he loses his entire family. He is not happy with the situation of things are, and he's the one that will, in a situation during where there's a bunch of officers who outrank everybody, and you just need to be quiet or you're going to be sent to prison. Because this main character is not an official, is not an officer, he has no ranking, he's a citizen, he can stand up and say some stupid shit that, needed to have been said. He might get in trouble, he might get arrested and put in jail, put in prison for a while or something, but it's one of those situations where because he said it, that he said something to someone in a group setting with very public, at least to that situation, and maybe to a corrupt official who the corrupt official was maybe involved with, but not direct planning of all the bombings throughout the entire city. And the official orders him to be arrested. Well, when he's arrested on the spot, the king or like a higher official steps in and says, "Wait, belay that order," or whatever, and gets the guy off and says he said what was needed to be said, but most importantly, he's in a public setting, so he uses the law to get the main character off the hook. And he's a really cool dude. He's a higher official than this guy. He might be backstabbed at one point, probably fake his own death, but I'd love for him to live, but he might need to die at some point. So the main villain or a villain can step up and do a lot of harm, so the main character can actually shine and the main team can shine. Maybe this guy who's a higher ranking guy is actually kicked out of the military or face death and is kicked out of the ranking, therefore the villain can come up and start claiming higher and higher rank. Something like that. Oh man, and from that, the captain or the higher official, like the general or something, joins the team, maybe in an unofficial way. Maybe he goes off and he starts becoming a spy or something, and maybe not a spy, but he can't join the group because he might be too old, but he definitely is not against them. He's with them. He's for them, but he maybe just can't join them. And the captain is the one that actually joins the party, and they keep finding these little oddballs like the assassin here that went to go and plant all these things, but when he realized all the damages that was caused, including maybe like a struggling kid that was trying to breathe, but he was bleeding out, the assassin was like, "What the hell did I just do?" But he was given the order by his assassin guild, and if he didn't do it, he would have been killed. And it's one of those, like, you have to follow the assassin code or the assassin creed. It's whatever the contract is, regardless of whatever the situation. So maybe the letter of the law is that regardless of the... so maybe the laws within the Assassin's Guild or something is a little bit flawed, or it was skewed where it was perfect, where you have the option to not opt into a contract, but maybe something or somewhere said, like, if you don't join, you're going to die. So maybe he was forced in that way to do all these things that he didn't know what was going to happen, and then it went off. And then he started seeing the devastation from it. So, and maybe he never went back to go to the Assassin's Guild. Maybe he didn't report in, and that would be actually a really cool thing. Oh, and that would be something of maybe they could use later when he joins the group. He says, like, okay, within the Assassin's Guild, this is what we need to go get, and then after that, I'm gonna quit and be done with them. And then they go, and that could be an episode where he tries to infiltrate the place that he's invited in. But at the very end, they realize that he's actually a turncoat. And then that could be a chase scene or something. So, again, this is a little bit of a convoluted mess, a little complex. The objective that I wanted to do today, I didn't write down. Usually I type whatever the objectives are. I kind of went all over the place, but the one objective that I knew that I had to have, knew that I had to write down figuratively, is I wanted to have communicated old stories I had once created apparently in my head, because I remember typing them out for hours and hours and hours, and I just went on and on and on with these stories. Now, it could be buried somewhere within a label called notes with just a date, because I have a bunch of those, but if that's the case, there's a lot of documents I'd have to go through, and I probably will at some point, because I have to thin up a lot of the documents on my computer. But that's one thing. The objective was to rehash a story that I once had. I rehashed the story with the scientist father, the father that never wanted the daughter, and the daughter that loved having a father, and the daughter warping out of existence, and the father developing the technology to go and find her. I remember that specific ending. Now, how I'm able to, what I remember, what the image I have in my head and what I'm able to communicate, they're totally different. Because in my head, it looks pristine, it looks like anime, and it looks like the 2020 anime. It looks like it's well-drawn, well-articulated, or maybe like a 2019 anime or something. Something specific that's not just like sketchy art. It looks, again, in my head, it looks good, but me communicating is a little bit different. It's like, oh my gosh, I have this phenomenal character. He's like, okay, this is all I can draw? Oh, that sucks. Like, what is this? This is a lopsided face. Somebody has that type of face in the world, and I'm laughing. Okay, that actually seemed a little bit too evil. There's a laugh that happens. No. The Lion King, where he goes, where he's laughing at King Rock or whatever, the dead antelope area, where the hyenas are. And it's like, I'm the king. And then the hyenas start laughing and they start freaking out. So, yeah. So then the whole part is that he's I don't know where the story would be developed from there. I don't know where it would go, but this is a specific scene, if not a specific a point in the beginning of the story. It's like, he shouldn't be okay with having his family die and stuff, and I don't know what type of trauma that would have on a guy, if not, let alone how would that influence you? Like, maybe you're a loving guy, but maybe you close yourself off a little bit more. Maybe the people that are attached to you, like the second lieutenant, or maybe the captain, instead of a second lieutenant that he tries to save, maybe it was the captain. Originally, it was a captain. I wanted to change it because why would there be a guy who came into here? But maybe a captain did because he was, whatever the reason that he went into there, I wanted it to be a captain. And giving him a legitimate reason for being there, or maybe even just looking around. But then if there was a beast that was right outside, the captain should not be inside. If a captain like him is somebody who is a soldier and is a fighter and goes out there and is actually going to be one of the people that are trying to fight the beasts. So if there's an invasion like that, he should be well aware that he needs to be outside hunting them, trying to stop them from entering buildings. Maybe he tried to set up a location or something, it didn't work. Whatever. But this is the story of a man who lost his family living in a utopia fantasy story. We'll have I don't know if I'm going to expand this, but I wanted to at least record the entire thought process. So, yeah. I hope that was interesting. I hope it went somewhere where you wanted. I know there was some twists and turns, some repetition. I changed a few things, but I wanted to get that story out. And I think there's 3 more stories that I want to specifically get out, regardless of me just like going down a rabbit trail of trying to create something like I did in the actually almost every other single story hour that I had. So where we create a few objectives, we start with an idea, and then we just roll with it. Well, this one, it came from memory, and I was trying to recall it. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect rendition, but it's pretty darn close, at least plot-wise. And plot-wise, it's almost perfect if we have the captain in there instead of the second lieutenant and stuff. But specific-wise, it's way off. It's way off a little. At least the visuals are, and maybe the fight scenes or something, but definitely the characters. We'll end it off with this one question. I have a question for you. What is a story that you've thought about in your past? A story that you have had created, you thought was unique. It might not be unique, but you could probably change a few things that could make it maybe unique. Maybe it doesn't even have to be unique. But more important, what is a story that you had created in your mind? What's a story that you would love to see rendered on the big screen, in a comic book, in writing in a book? What is a story that you thought about in your past, you're thinking about now, or you're wanting to create in the future? What is that, and write it down below. Because the most important part is that you get it into writing, make a note of it, record it. Make certain that you have these type of ideas available to you. Make certain you note what that idea is. I'd love to know what that story idea is for you. Well, from you, with you, to you, in you. Yeah. So please post your comments, questions, and concerns right down below. Please smash that like button, because that's one of the greatest things that you can ever do on this channel is just, there's a like button, go and smash it, because that helps the algorithm, it helps the channel. And also, excuse me. Most importantly, you enjoy the rest of your day. See you next time. Bye.